I thought I was starting a new life, a peaceful one. She helped me find the apartment, helped me open my bank account. She even cooked for me some nights. But when she vanished, so did every dollar I had left. The worst part? I still think she smiled at me that last time, like I meant something. Maybe I did, just not in the way I thought. The humidity hit me like opening an oven door, but I didn't care. After 38 years fixing transmissions in Detroit winters, Bangkok's heat felt like freedom. I was 61, finally retired, and ready to live somewhere that didn't freeze my bones 6 months a year. The taxi driver didn't speak English, but his smile said everything. This was going to be different. This was going to be good. I hadn't planned on sharing this tonight. But a few days ago, I opened an email from a longtime viewer of this channel. He said he'd been following my stories for a while, listening quietly, never commenting, but always coming back. This time, though, he wrote me a message. He wanted me to know what he'd been through, and in his words, I recognized more than I wanted to admit. At first, I felt shock, that hollow kind that makes your stomach sink, because his story sounded too much like mine. Then came sadness, because I could feel his loneliness in every line, the same kind of loneliness that drove me halfway across the world searching for connection. And finally there was gratitude. Gratitude that he trusted me with his pain. Gratitude that these stories, as hard as they are to tell, matter to someone out there who's been carrying the same weight in silence. That's why I'm here tonight, to share mine. And before I go any further, I want to thank you. Yes, you, watching right now. Please leave me a comment and tell me where you're tuning in from. I read every one, and it means more than you know. And for those of you who've been with me for a while who keep coming back, story after story, this is my super thank you. You're the reason I can keep pressing record. Please like this video, subscribe if you haven't already, and join the conversation below. Because tonight, I need to tell you everything. Let me take you back to where it all started. My apartment building stood 12 stories high, all glass and concrete, reaching toward a sky that never seemed to end. The lobby smelled like jasmine and floor wax. Clean, new, nothing like the oil-stained garage I'd called home for 4 decades. I'd found this place through Mike, an expat from the Facebook group who'd been living here 3 years. "You'll love it, Reggie," he'd said over video chat. "Thailand treats us Americans right. Just need someone local to help with the paperwork." That someone turned out to be Sufawan. Mike introduced us at a coffee shop near my building, and the moment she walked in, I knew she was different. Not just beautiful, though she was that. Elegant, in a way that made my hands feel too rough, my English too simple. She wore a crisp white blouse and black skirt, carried herself like someone important. Her hair fell in perfect waves past her shoulders, and when she smiled, her whole face lit up. "Hello, Mr. Reggie," she said, extending a manicured hand. "Mike tells me you need help finding a home here." "I do," I said, probably too eager. "Been looking forward to this for years." She tilted her head, studying me with curious eyes. "What brings you to Bangkok? Most Americans your age, they go to Pattaya or Hua Hin. Wanted somewhere real. Somewhere I could actually live, not just visit." "Good answer," she said, and that smile again. "I think I can help you. I work in property sometimes, and I know this area very well. Also, my English is quite good, so I can translate when you need." Mike nodded approvingly. "Sufawan helped me with everything when I moved here. Bank account, phone, even taught me which street food was safe." "That's very kind of you," I said to her. "What would something like that cost?" She waved her hand dismissively. "We talk about that later. First, let me show you some places. See what makes you happy." Over the next 2 hours, she walked me through 3 different apartments. Each time, she negotiated with the landlords in rapid Thai, then turned to me with translations that seemed too good to be true. He says normally it's 25,000 baht per month, but for a nice American gentleman, he can do 22. At the 3rd place, a 1-bedroom with a balcony overlooking the canal, she stopped talking business and leaned against the railing. "This one has good energy," she said. "You feel it?" I joined her at the railing, breathing in the warm evening air. Boats drifted past below us, their engines humming like distant music. Street vendors called out in Thai, selling things I couldn't identify but wanted to try. "Yeah," I said. "I feel it." "Then this is your home." She turned to face me fully. "But let me ask you something, Mr. Reggie. You came here alone? Divorced 10 years ago. No kids. Figured it was time to see what else was out there. Something shifted in her expression. Not pity exactly, but understanding. That must have been lonely. Was, I said. Past tense. She smiled again, but this time it reached her eyes in a way that made my chest tight. Good. Bangkok is a city for new beginnings. 3 days later, I'd signed the lease, opened a Thai bank account with her help, and started what felt like my first real life in decades. She refused payment for the apartment search. You buy me dinner instead, she said. I know a place with the best som tam in the city. That night, at a street-side restaurant where plastic chairs surrounded wobbly tables, she taught me to use chopsticks properly and laughed when I struggled with the spicy papaya salad. Too hot for you? Getting there. I gasped, reaching for my beer. Thai people, we believe spicy food makes you strong. Burns away the old, makes room for the new. Then I'm about to get very strong. She laughed, a sound like bells, and touched my arm briefly. I think you already are. Walking back to my building later, she stopped at the entrance. Tomorrow I have some work, but maybe Thursday I can show you the weekend market. Chatuchak, very famous, but also very confusing for foreigners. I'd like that. Good. She reached into her purse and pulled out a small wrapped package. Welcome gift, for your new home. Inside was a brass elephant, no bigger than my thumb, with its trunk raised. For luck, she explained. Thai people believe it brings prosperity and protects travelers. I turned it over in my palm, feeling its weight. Thank you, this means a lot. You are welcome, Mr. Reggie. She paused, then added, my friends, they call me Suf. If you like. Suf, I repeated. I like it. She smiled one more time before disappearing into a waiting taxi, leaving me standing in the lobby with a brass elephant and the strangest feeling that my life was finally beginning. 2 weeks in Bangkok, and I'd never felt more at home anywhere. Suf had become my guide to everything, from teaching me which buses went where to explaining why I shouldn't point my feet at Buddha statues. She had a way of making the complicated simple, the foreign familiar. You need Thai bank account. She'd said that Thursday at Chatuchak Market. Your American bank, they charge too much for international transfers. I don't know the first thing about Thai banking. That's why you have me. She squeezed my arm. Tomorrow we go together. I translate everything, make sure they treat you fairly. Bangkok Bank felt like every other bank, all marble floors and serious faces, but Suf transformed the experience. She spoke rapid Thai with the account manager, occasionally turning to me for confirmation. He says they need proof of address. Good thing I brought copy of your lease. You think of everything. Someone has to take care of you. She said it lightly, but something in her tone made me look closer. Bangkok can be difficult for foreigners alone. The paperwork took 2 hours, but Suf never seemed impatient. She explained each form before I signed, translated every question the bank officer asked. When we finished, she insisted on taking me to lunch. Celebration, she said. Now you are official Bangkok resident. Over bowls of boat noodles at a place near the river, she asked about my life in Michigan. 38 years fixing cars, I said. Same garage, same tools, same problems every day. You never wanted to do something else? Thought about it. But after the divorce, seemed easier to just keep working. Build up the retirement fund. She stirred her noodles thoughtfully. And now? What do you want to do now? I looked out at the Chao Phraya River, watching long-tail boats cut through the muddy water. Vendors walked past our table selling fresh fruit, their voices mixing with distant temple bells. This, I said, just this. Eating noodles with strange Thai woman? Learning about a place that feels more like home than home ever did. Her smile was different that day. Warmer, more private. You say nice things, Mr. Reggie. Just being honest. That evening, she showed up at my apartment with a bag of groceries. I teach you to cook real Thai food, she announced. None of this tourist pad Thai nonsense. In my narrow kitchen, she guided my hands through cutting vegetables, explaining the balance of sweet, sour, salt, and heat that made Thai cuisine work. Cooking is like life, she said, standing close enough that I could smell her perfume. All about finding harmony. Is that what you do? Find harmony? I try to. She looked up at me, and for a moment the space between us felt charged. Sometimes it's easier with the right person. We ate the green curry she'd taught me to make, sitting on my balcony as Bangkok's lights began to twinkle below. She told me about growing up in a small town north of the city, coming to Bangkok for university, working various jobs to support her family. Property work is okay, she said. Good commission when I find the right clients. But I also do translation, little bit of tour guiding. Whatever pays. Must be hard making it on your own. Thai women, we are strong. We take care of ourselves, take care of family. She paused, twirling her fork through the curry. But sometimes it's nice to have someone who appreciates what you do. I appreciate it. All of this. You've made Bangkok feel possible for me. Good. She reached across the small table and touched my hand. That makes me happy. The next week, she came by 3 more times. Once to help me register with immigration, once to show me her favorite temple, and once just because she said I looked lonely. Each visit felt more natural, more necessary. She'd leave small things behind, a book of Thai phrases, a plant for my windowsill, a bottle of Thai whiskey. For when you miss America too much. You don't have to keep helping me, I said one evening. I know you have your own life. This is my life now too, she said simply. Taking care of people I care about. Mike warned me to be careful when we met for drinks at a rooftop bar. Thai women can be complicated, he said, nursing his 3rd beer. Just make sure you're not reading more into it than what's there. It's not like that, I said, but even as I spoke, I knew I was lying to myself. Look, I like Suf. She's good people. Just remember you're the foreigner with the American pension. Sometimes that matters more than you think. I wanted to argue, but watching Suf wave goodbye from yet another taxi that night, I realized I didn't really know what she wanted from me. Only that when she was around, Bangkok made sense. And when she wasn't, I counted the hours until she'd return. I need to ask you something, Suf said one evening as we sat by the canal. We'd been meeting regularly for almost a month now, and I'd started thinking of these conversations as the best part of my day. But tonight, she seemed different. Nervous. What is it? My mother, she has diabetes. The medicine is expensive. And this month. She trailed off, staring at the water. I'm sorry. I shouldn't ask. How much do you need? No, it's not your problem. She shook her head quickly. I will figure something out. Suf, how much? She met my eyes reluctantly. 2,000 baht. About $60 American. But I pay you back next week when I get commission from new client. I pulled out my wallet without thinking. Here. No, I can't take your money. Yes, you can. And don't worry about paying it back. She stared at the bills in my hand. You sure? I'm sure. That night, she hugged me longer than usual. You are very good man, Reggie. Very kind. Walking home alone, I felt something I hadn't experienced in years. Useful. Needed. Like I was making a difference in someone's life instead of just existing in it. 2 weeks later, she needed help again. My cousin in Chiang Mai, she has small restaurant. The landlord, he raised the rent suddenly. If she doesn't pay extra 3,000 baht by Friday, she lose everything. That's about $90? Yes, but Reggie, I know I still owe you from before. You don't owe me anything. I was already reaching for my phone to check my banking app. I'll transfer it tonight. You are saving my family. A month after that, it was 5,000 baht for car repairs, then 8,000 for her aunt's medical bills. Each time, Suf seemed genuinely reluctant to ask. Each time, I found myself wanting to help before she even finished explaining. The money felt meaningless compared to the gratitude in her voice, the way she'd hold my hand when she thanked me. You are like family now, she said one evening after I'd helped with another family emergency. Thai people, we take care of family forever. I've never been part of a family like that. Now you are. She was quiet for a moment, then added, There's something I want to tell you. About us. My heart started beating faster. What about us? I have feelings for you. Real feelings. But I was scared to say anything because of the age difference. Because I am Thai and you are American. Because maybe you think I only want your money. I would never think that. Good. She smiled, but it was shaky. Because what I feel for you, it has nothing to do with money. You make me feel safe, protected, like I can be myself. That night, she stayed over for the first time. Lying next to her in the dark, listening to her breathe, I felt like the luckiest man alive. After 40 years of being alone, I'd found someone who needed me. Someone who chose me. 3 days later, she brought up the condo investment. I have opportunity, she said over breakfast. My friend, she works for development company. They have unit in new building, still under construction. If we buy now, we can resell in 6 months for 30% profit. You put up money for down payment. I handle all the Thai paperwork, legal stuff. We split the profit 50-50. How much are we talking? 300,000 baht. About $9,000. She reached across the table and took my hand. I know it's big amount, but Reggie, this is how Thai people build wealth. Property always goes up in Bangkok. 9,000 was more than I'd ever spent on anything except cars and houses, but looking at her face, seeing the excitement there, I found myself nodding. You sure this is legitimate? Of course. I bring you all the contracts tomorrow, you can read everything. She squeezed my hand. We're partners now, right? Partners trust each other. That word, partners, echoed in my head for the rest of the day. I'd never had a real partner before. Someone who included me in their plans, their future. Someone who saw me as more than just a paycheck or a warm body. The contracts looked official enough, all Thai text with English translations stapled to each page. Suf walked me through every clause, explaining property laws I didn't understand and investment strategies I'd never heard of. In America, you probably put money in boring bank accounts, yes? Mostly. In Thailand, we make money work harder. This condo, in 1 year it could be worth 500,000 baht, maybe more. I signed everything she put in front of me. 3 days later, I wired $9,000 to an account she said belonged to the development company. That night, she cooked my favorite massaman curry, and we celebrated with expensive wine. To our future, she said, raising her glass. To our future. But something had shifted. She seemed distracted during dinner, checking her phone more often, responding to messages in Thai that she didn't translate. When I asked about it, she just said work was getting busy. Good busy or bad busy? Good busy. More clients want to buy property. Foreign money coming into Bangkok like crazy. She smiled, but it didn't quite reach her eyes. Soon, we both be very rich. That was the first night I went to sleep wondering if I'd made a mistake. Not about the money, but about reading too much into what we had. About believing that someone like her could really want someone like me. The messages started getting shorter. Where Suf used to send me good morning texts with photos of her breakfast or funny observations about Bangkok traffic, now I got single-word responses. Busy. Working. Later. When I asked about the condo investment, she said the construction was on schedule but paperwork was complicated. These things take time in Thailand. Too much bureaucracy. Can we visit the site? Not allowed yet. Still foundation work only. I wanted to believe her, but something felt different. She canceled our dinner plans twice that week, saying she had to show properties to important clients. When she did come over, she seemed distracted, always checking her phone. Everything okay? I asked one evening as she scrolled through messages in Thai. Yes, just family drama. My brother, he's having problems with his business. Anything I can help with? She looked up sharply. No, this is something I handle myself. The next week, she missed our regular coffee date completely. No call, no text, nothing. When I finally reached her that evening, she sounded tired. I'm sorry, Reggie. Crazy day. Client wanted to see 15 different condos. That sounds exhausting. It is. Maybe we take break for a few days? Let me sort out some work things, then we can spend proper time together. A few days turned into a week. Then 2 weeks. I sent messages she didn't answer, left voicemails she didn't return. Mike tried to reassure me when we met for our regular expat drinks. Thai women are independent, he said. Maybe she just needs space. It's not like her to disappear completely. You've only known her a couple months, mate. Maybe this is like her, but I knew it wasn't. The Suf who had cooked in my kitchen, who had held my hand during temple visits, who had shared stories about her childhood, wouldn't just vanish without explanation. Something was wrong. I decided to go to her apartment. She'd never invited me there, always meeting at my place or at restaurants, but I remembered the address from when she'd given it to me for bank forms. The building was older than mine, more worn around the edges, but respectable. The security guard spoke no English, but when I showed him her name written on my phone, he shook his head and said something that sounded apologetic. I waited outside for 3 hours, watching for her to come home. She never did. The next day, I went to the property office where she'd said she sometimes worked. The receptionist, a young woman who spoke careful English, looked confused when I asked about Suf. Sufawan, she is not employee here. Sometimes she brings clients, we pay small commission, but she has own business. Do you know how to reach her? Sorry, no. She has not been here for maybe 2 weeks. That evening, I called the development company listed on the condo contracts. The number was disconnected. When I looked up the company name online, I found nothing. No website, no business registration, no address that matched what was on my paperwork. I stared at my bank statement, seeing the $9,000 transfer to an account I couldn't trace for a condo that might not exist. But even then, even with the evidence right in front of me, I told myself there had to be an explanation. Suf wouldn't have taken my money. She couldn't have. Not after everything we'd shared. On a Tuesday night in my 3rd week without contact, her phone number stopped working entirely. When I tried to call, I got a message in Thai that I couldn't understand. I asked the concierge at my building to translate. "Number not in service," he said simply. That night, I sat on my balcony looking out at Bangkok's endless lights, and for the first time since arriving in Thailand, the city felt foreign again, overwhelming, like I was seeing it for what it really was instead of what I'd wanted it to be. But I still believed she'd come back. I still believed there was an explanation that would make sense of everything. I still believed that what we'd had was real. I just didn't know how much believing that was going to cost me. "I need to check my account balance," I told the teller at Bangkok Bank. It had been 4 weeks since I'd heard from Suf, and I was finally ready to face whatever I might find. The friendly woman who had helped me open the account recognized me. "Of course, Mr. Reggie. You want statement?" While she typed, I rehearsed questions in my head. How much was left? Could I trace where the condo money had gone? Were there other transactions I'd forgotten about? She printed several pages and handed them to me with a smile that faded when she saw my face. My retirement account, which had held $87,000 2 months ago, now showed a balance of $3,200. Transfer after transfer, all authorized with my electronic signature, all sent to the joint account Suf had helped me open for convenience. "Is there problem?" the teller asked. "These transfers," I said, pointing at the largest ones. "The joint account. Where did that money go?" She typed again, frowning at her screen. "That account, it was closed last week. All funds withdrawn in cash." "Closed by who? Your partner? Miss Sufawan?" "She has authorization." The floor seemed to tilt under me. I gripped the counter to steady myself. "Sir, you feeling okay? The Condo Investment. The development company account. Can you tell me anything about that transfer?" More typing. More frowning. "This account number, it is not business account. Personal account. Opened 3 months ago. Closed 2 weeks ago." "What name was it under?" "I cannot give that information. Privacy rules. But sir, if you think there is fraud, you should contact police." I walked out of the bank like a man underwater, everything muffled and strange. $84,000. Almost everything I'd saved in 40 years of work. Gone. I sat in a coffee shop across the street, staring at the bank statements until the numbers blurred together. Each transaction had my authorization, my signature, my approval. She hadn't stolen anything technically. I'd given it all to her willingly. That night, I called Mike. "Jesus, Reggie, how much?" "Everything. Almost everything." Long silence on his end. "I'm coming over." Mike arrived with a bottle of whiskey and the grim expression of someone who'd seen this before. "Tell me exactly what happened." I walked him through everything. The apartment hunting, the bank account, the family emergencies, the condo investment, the disappearance. He listened without interrupting, occasionally shaking his head. "The joint account," he said finally. "That's classic. Makes everything legal. You authorized every transfer. But the condo investment was fake? Probably. Fake company, fake contracts, fake opportunity." He poured us both another whiskey. "I'm sorry, mate. I should have warned you better." "You did warn me. Not hard enough." We drank in silence for a while, listening to Bangkok's night sounds through my open balcony door. Finally, Mike asked the question I'd been dreading. "What are you going to do?" I looked around my apartment. The lease ran for another 10 months. The elephant figurine she'd given me still sat on my bookshelf, trunk raised for luck that had never come. "I don't know. You could go to the police." "And say what? That I voluntarily gave money to my girlfriend and now I want it back?" "She committed fraud. She committed a relationship." Mike stared at me. "You still think you meant something to her?" "I did mean something to her. just not what I thought. The next morning, I walked through Bangkok like a tourist again, seeing it with different eyes. Every smile seemed calculated, every friendly gesture potentially transactional. The street vendors calling, "Hello, sir." The tuk-tuk drivers offering rides to special temples. The women in hotel lobbies who made eye contact and smiled. How many of them were like Suf? How many of them saw lonely foreign men and calculated exactly what we were worth? But even as I thought these bitter thoughts, even as I counted the money I had left and wondered how long it would last, part of me still hoped my phone would ring, still hoped she'd have an explanation that would make everything okay. Part of me still loved the woman who had never really existed. 3 months without a word, and I was still checking my phone every morning, still taking the long way home that passed by her old apartment building, still ordering som tam at street vendors, hoping I'd hear her voice correcting my pronunciation. "You're pathetic," I told myself one evening, sitting in the same riverside restaurant where she'd taught me to use chopsticks. But I ordered her favorite dish anyway. Mike had stopped being sympathetic and started being practical. "You need to move to a cheaper place," he said over beers. $3,000 won't last long in that building. "I know. And you need to figure out work, teaching English maybe, tour guiding, something. I'm 61 years old. So? Thailand's full of older expats making it work. You're not ready to give up, are you?" I wasn't sure what I was ready for. Some days I felt angry enough to hire a private investigator, track her down, demand answers. Other days I felt so empty I could barely get out of bed. Most days I just felt confused, like I was living in someone else's life and couldn't figure out how I'd gotten there. But I kept looking for her. I started taking buses to different parts of Bangkok, walking through markets and shopping centers, checking faces in crowds. I visited every property office I could find, asking if they knew a woman named Sufawan who worked in real estate. Most had never heard of her. A few recognized the description but hadn't seen her recently. One evening, sitting at a bus stop near the weekend market, I thought I saw her. A woman with the same silhouette, the same graceful walk, the same long hair. She was arm in arm with a Western man, older than me, wearing expensive clothes. My heart started racing as I followed them through the crowd. When she turned around at a food stall, it wasn't her. Just another beautiful Thai woman with another lonely foreign man, sharing pad Thai and looking happy together. I started writing her letters I never sent. Long, rambling emails to an address that probably no longer worked, explaining how I felt, asking questions I knew she'd never answer. Did any of it mean anything to you? Were there moments when what you felt was real? Do you ever think about me? The letters helped somehow. Writing them made me feel less crazy, less alone with all the thoughts spinning in my head. After a while, I started printing them out, keeping them in a folder like evidence of something that had happened, proof that I hadn't imagined the whole thing. One night, I found myself standing outside her old building again, looking up at the window that might have been hers. The security guard recognized me by now and shook his head sympathetically whenever he saw me coming. "Sufawan mai me," he said in broken English. "Sufawan not here." "I know," I said, "but maybe someday." He looked at me with the kind of pity you give to stray dogs, and I realized that's what I'd become. A stray, wandering Bangkok looking for someone who had never wanted to be found. That night, I called her number one more time, knowing it would be disconnected but needing to try anyway. The Thai message played as always, musical and incomprehensible. But this time, instead of hanging up, I spoke to the silence afterward. "I hope you're okay," I said. "I hope whatever you needed the money for was worth it. I hope you got what you wanted." I paused, listening to static across the ocean of space between us. "I just wish you'd said goodbye." When I hung up, I realized it was the first time I'd spoken to her, or the idea of her, without anger, without demanding explanations or professing hurt. Just wishing her well, wherever she was, whatever she was doing. It felt like progress. Small but real. The next morning, I didn't check my phone first thing. I made coffee instead, stood on my balcony, and watched Bangkok wake up without wondering if today would be the day she came back. It wasn't much, but it was a start. "There's something you should know," Mike said when I met him at our usual bar 6 months after Suf disappeared. He looked uncomfortable, nursing his beer instead of drinking it. "About Suf. What about her?" "I met someone who knew her. A Norwegian guy named Anders. Been here 5 years. Something cold settled in my stomach." "What did he tell you?" Mike sighed. "Same story, mate. Almost exactly. She helped him find an apartment 3 years ago, became his girlfriend, took him for about $60,000 American before disappearing. The bar suddenly felt too loud, too bright. He's sure it was her? Same name? Same description? Same methods? Joint bank accounts, fake investment opportunities, family emergencies. Mike slid his phone across the table. He showed me a photo. It was her, standing on a beach somewhere, arm in arm with a tall blonde man who looked happy and confident. She was wearing a red sundress I'd never seen, smiling the same smile I'd thought was meant just for me. When was this taken? About 6 months before she met you. I stared at the photo until Mike gently took his phone back. I'm sorry. I thought you should know. Where is he now? This Anders? Went back to Norway last year. Couldn't afford to stay. We sat in silence for a long time. Around us, Bangkok's expat crowd carried on their usual conversations about visas and real estate and which massage parlors were legit. Normal life for people who hadn't been systematically taken apart by someone they'd trusted. How many others? I asked finally. He didn't know for sure. But he said she was good at it, professional, made it feel real for everyone. That night, I walked through Bangkok with a different kind of clarity. Not the angry clarity I'd hoped for, where I'd track her down and demand justice. Not the sad clarity where I'd accept my role as victim and move on. Something else, something almost like relief. It was never about me. None of it. Not my loneliness, not my kindness, not my willingness to help. I hadn't been chosen for any quality that made me special. I'd been chosen because I fit a profile. Older, divorced, financially stable, emotionally vulnerable. Recently arrived in a country where I didn't speak the language or understand the systems. I was a type, not a person. The realization should have hurt more than it did. Instead, it felt like permission to stop wondering what I'd done wrong, stop analyzing every conversation for clues I'd missed, stop believing that if I'd been smarter or more suspicious or less generous, things would have been different. She would have taken my money regardless. The only variable was how long she'd needed to do it. I went home and took out the folder of unsent letters I'd written to her. Page after page of confused emotions, desperate questions, pleading explanations. Reading them now felt like looking at someone else's life. Someone who still believed he'd been in a relationship instead of a transaction. I burned them in my sink, watching the smoke drift out through my balcony door into Bangkok's humid night air. The brass elephant she'd given me was harder to dispose of. I held it for a long time, remembering how hopeful I'd felt that first night, how much it had seemed to symbolize about new beginnings and good fortune. In the end, I didn't throw it away. I put it in a drawer, not as a keepsake but as a reminder. Evidence of how easy it was to mistake performance for connection, transaction for love. The next week, I started looking for a smaller apartment. Mike was right about the money situation. I needed to downsize, find work, figure out how to rebuild with what little I had left. But for the first time since arriving in Bangkok, I wasn't planning around the hope that she'd come back. I was planning around the assumption that she never would. It felt like waking up from a dream I hadn't realized I was having. The new apartment is smaller. One room, a tiny kitchen, a bathroom where I have to step over the toilet to reach the shower. But it's mine for 4,000 baht a month, and from the window I can see the same canal where Suf and I used to sit talking about everything and nothing. The water looks different now. Less romantic, more practical. Just a waterway moving people and goods through a city that keeps working regardless of who gets their hearts broken along the way. I've been teaching English at a small school in Thonburi for 8 months now. The pay isn't much, but it covers rent and food with enough left over for the occasional beer with Mike. My students are mostly teenagers who call me Teacher Reggie and laugh at my attempts at Thai pronunciation. They think I'm funny without meaning to be, which is probably accurate. Teacher, you have Thai girlfriend? One of them asked last week. Not anymore, I said. You want Thai girlfriend? Right now, I'm just learning Thai language. They found this hilarious for reasons I didn't understand, but their laughter wasn't mean, just amused by the strange old American.